Hi, I'm Allan. Welcome to Conversations with Allan. There's a quote from Glenn Sanford, the founder of eXp Realty, that has stayed with me ever since I first heard it. He said, "I want to be in the future before anybody else gets there." When I first heard that, it made me smile. Not because I'd already decided to join eXp. Honestly, I hadn't. I smiled because someone had just put into words something I've been trying to do throughout my entire career. I've always believed that if you're responsible for leading other people, you have an obligation to look ahead. You simply can't just manage today. You have to prepare for tomorrow. And that's the story I want to begin sharing with you today. Several years ago, my wife Terry and I owned an independent brokerage called Towering Pines Real Estate. We'd spent 10 years building it. We loved our agents, we loved our clients, and we loved our community. Business was good. So let me clear something up right away. We weren't looking to leave. In fact, I didn't want to change. Period. Full stop. I wasn't frustrated. I wasn't burned out. I wasn't chasing a better split. I had a good one. And I certainly wasn't looking for another logo to put on my business card. I fully expected we'd keep building Towering Pines for years to come. Around that time, I was approaching 70. People sometimes assume that means retirement is on your mind. Nothing could be further from the truth. It wasn't. I enjoy this business too much. I'm still waking up every day excited about helping agents grow. But I did find myself asking a different kind of question. Not, when am I going to retire? But instead, what does the next decade need to look like? I've always believed that experience should expand your perspective. The longer you're in business, the farther ahead you should be thinking, especially when other people are depending on your leadership. So we started studying, not because we wanted to make a change, but because I felt we had a responsibility to better understand where our industry was going. As a former financial executive, that's simply how I'm wired. When markets shift and business models evolve, you study them. You don't ignore them just because you're comfortable where you are. One of the most dangerous things a leader can do is to assume that what worked yesterday will automatically be the best answer tomorrow. There was another reality in the background too. As an independent broker owner, and hopefully a responsible person, you eventually start asking hard questions about the future of the company you've built. For most owners, the options are limited. Pass it to family, transition it to people inside the company, or sell it, often with years of conditions attached. Those are all legitimate paths. They simply weren't the right ones for us. But that wasn't why we started looking. It was just part of thinking responsibly about the future. As we continued our research, Terry did what Terry always does. She checked everything, and I mean everything. If there was a concern to be found, she was going to find it. Eventually, she came across what some people consider to be the single biggest criticism of eXp. Someone had written that joining the company was just overwhelming, that there was just so much to learn. I remember looking at Terry, then looking back at the screen, and we both had almost exactly the same reaction. That's the negative? Because to us, it wasn't negative at all. For 10 years, we had been working every day and asking ourselves the same question every day that every independent broker owner asks. How can we provide more training? How can we offer better technology? How can we create more opportunity for our agents? And like every independent, we did everything we could within the resources we had. So when someone complained that there was almost too much available, we didn't hear a warning. We heard confirmation. That's the moment everything became crystal clear. We weren't looking at a company that wanted us to become something different. We were looking at a platform that already believed in the same things we believed. Our vision hadn't changed. The platform had. And suddenly, what we'd been trying to build for 10 years no longer felt limited by the resources of an independent brokerage. It felt like it could finally expand. One sentence from that time, pardon me, still describes exactly how I felt. We realized we didn't want to spend the next decade competing against this model. We wanted that model on our side, helping us, working for us. Not because someone talked us into it, but because our own research brought us here. Sometimes people ask what I felt when we finally made the decision. Honestly, it wasn't fear. There was a little discomfort because I knew there'd be a learning curve. Any worthwhile change has one. But the emotion I remember most was excitement, mixed with gratitude. Not because we were leaving towering pines behind. We weren't, and we haven't. We were lifting everything we'd spent 10 years building to a whole new level. That distinction matters to me. The mission never changed. We still wanted to create the very best environment we possibly could for the agents who trusted us. The difference was, now we had a platform that let us do it in ways we simply couldn't offer before. Looking back today, I don't think the biggest lesson was about changing brokerages at all. It was about leadership. Leadership requires enough humility to let the evidence challenge your assumption. It requires enough curiosity to study the future before you're forced to live in it. And sometimes the best way to honor what you've spent years building isn't to protect it from change. It's to give it the chance to become something even better. That's where the story begins. But it's only the beginning. Because deciding to make the change was one thing. What I actually found once we were inside, what surprised me, what assumptions turned out to be wrong, and what 3 years in this model has taught me, that's a story I'm looking forward to telling you over the next conversations ahead. For now, I'll leave you with a question. Has there ever been a time when learning something new challenged a belief you'd held for years? What happened? I read every comment, and I'd genuinely like to know if that happened to you. Until next time, build your career on purpose. I'm Allan. I'll see you in the next conversation.